My name is Theresa Barron, and I'm here with the Real Tea Talk. We're going to bring some valid information to you today. Listen, I have a guest, and let me tell you, before we actually get started, we are here to educate, inspire, and activate. My guest today, she's here with me, and I'm so excited to have her. Her name is Stephanie O'Brien. She's here to give us the tea. This is the Real Tea Talk, where we spill the tea, expect to get some information. So Stephanie, you got to tell me, girl, how and why did you get started in the real estate game?
Real estate has always been a big passion of mine. I grew up looking at houses, and I started in real estate in 2002 when I started my journey in the title insurance industry. So real estate's always been my passion. I found titles, so that has been a 20-year journey of evolving into what we are today.
Hey girl, well you know what? It has been. It's been actually a 30-year journey for me. And you know, one thing we always want to do is make sure that we meet with compliance. So let me give you my broker number, Theresa Barron, 2010002720. And listen, we're coming to you live from Central Ohio. So Stephanie, in the Ohio market, it's been really a hot potato. There's a lot going on in this market. People really are, you know, we're seeing the rents go way up. It's getting a little bit uncomfortable for some folks, and there's a lot of things that we want our listeners, we want everybody, we want you to tell us exactly what you think we should be doing, because there's been some things that you've done over the last year and a half, and it's particularly what you did last month, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we need to let the people know. So come on and share it with us. Spill the tea.
So kind of to explain my journey, I started in real estate, actually investing, about 10 years ago. My story is a little bit different than everybody else on how they got in the real estate industry, but about 10 years ago, I got sober. So I actually quit drinking. And the one thing that people always told me is my credit score was too bad to become an entrepreneur or an investor.
Right. And they always try to make like you have to be some special something or another. But really, what was it for you that got you, how did you do it? What was your journey?
I would say that, I've been somebody my whole life that's beat the odds.
Yeah.
I'm from the west side of Columbus. I was born and raised on that side of town.
Wait, tell them about the west side. West side could be, we could retitle that the hillbilly, ghetto, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's all sides of town in Central Ohio. West side has not always had the best reputation. Matter of fact, I got people today who will say they don't necessarily want to go to the west side because of that reputation. So just to try to give everybody an idea of what we're talking about.
So I was born and raised. I went to Notre Dame Elementary School. I ended up graduating from West High School. I didn't really find myself until I found the real estate industry. Mm-hmm. As soon as I found a job where I could do marketing, look at listing photos, get a salary, and give back to the community, that's when I decided to go into real estate.
Right.
I graduated from West High School, and my parents owned a bar for 30 years on Sullivan and Oakley called Blueberry Hill.
So you already had some entrepreneurialism.
Absolutely.
It was by hook or crook. They made it happen, right? Okay.
Absolutely. So when I went to go buy my first house, I was told that by about 6 different lenders that you're not going to be able to buy a house. Your credit score is 576.
Wow.
Which is really low.
A lot of people say no at 576, but
I had, my deciding factor was a gentleman by the name of Brian Dawson, and he has been a lender friend of mine for many, many years. All the other lenders told me I couldn't.
Right.
Brian said, Steph, this is going to be a hard journey, and you are going to have meltdowns every day, but we're going to get you your home. And I'm proud to say about 3 months later, when I was pregnant with my daughter, 𝐫𝐈.
Yep.
So my first journey into entrepreneurship was when I was I was almost 40 years old, and I bought my first flip, which actually was on the west side of Columbus.
Isn't that something? How much did you make on that flip? Because I think that's really where we need to get to. What was the meat and potatoes? You bought it for how much? You sold it for how much?
So I knew that there are certain pockets of the west side that would go more than other pockets because some are southwestern city schools. So I found a pocket, which is kind of funny. My maiden name is Macklem.
Yeah.
So there's a Macklem Drive on the west side of Columbus.
Oh,
and So always something. So right off Macklem Drive is where I knew I wanted to buy my first house because that was named after my family. So my first house was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, cul-de-sac lot on the west side. I bought it for $139,000. I'm sorry, I lied. I bought it for $130,000. I sold it for $169,900.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. She spilled that tea. God, what did you do with that $39,000 that you walked away with? Cash in the pocket, west side, with no coaching, no nothing. I just made it happen. See, in my mind, if you can do it with no, just grits and guts and savvy, that means that anybody can make this thing. I mean, I think we can all do it. Would
Absolutely.
You say?
I would say that when you have a goal like home ownership or a goal that somebody tells you nobody can do it, you can't do it, that's when you turn around and you prove them wrong.
That's right. Put that energy out there, that energy. So
absolutely.
We talked about educate, right?
Yep.
So we got to give that education piece. How do we get that credit score? What was the struggle? What was the meat and potatoes in terms of what you had to do in order to get over that hump just to make that first purchase? And my second thought is, after the first purchase, what did you do? Was it easier? Did it come more naturally? Did you figure, look, you smiled about it.
I will tell you what, my first purchase, I laugh about it today with the people that helped me on that first purchase, because what I did was I had to understand credit and how credit worked, which I didn't. A lot of people think credit has all to do with having all bad credit. No, my only issues was I had really small credit cards that I had high balances on.
Yeah.
So that brought my credit score down to 576.
Yeah,
so,
and you just said something. You just gave a word there. In the credit industry, it's really important. She just gave you some tea. Listen, in the credit industry, it is about those balances versus those limits. So you always want to make sure that your limits are high enough. If your balances are too high, you may have to push that limit a little bit and get that creditor to raise your limit or lower the balance, but that impacts scores, right?
It impacts it to the point that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So to answer your second part of the question, so once I got into that house, I had my daughter.
Oh.
And then I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I know, girl, I know.
So when Ava was 5 days old, I was married to a man that I wasn't sure I wanted to be married to, and I was diagnosed with cancer with a little girl.
Right.
So I went through cancer. Luckily, I'm 7 years in remission.
Hey.
Thank God.
Yeah, we thank God with that one.
But my next purchase wasn't a better house. It was a worse house.
Woo.
So
Tell us about
I went to Powell, to a subdivision called Western Hills.
Yeah.
Which.
Now, wait. Powell. See, what y'all got to understand, when she says Powell, this is a little bit of bougie west side. This is going up. This is like moving on up. She took a step up. When she went to Powell, it's a whole different, not a lot of people look like me are in Powell, but she can blend in. But look, I'm a little different. They don't have a lot of locks going on in Powell. Go ahead and tell them about it.
So my second house, I want to mention that my first house was a rental. Okay. It was a rental that had only been vacant for about 6 months.
All right.
My second house was also a rental. So the absentee owners worked with me a little bit back in the day because it was vacant. So
there's some tea, y'all, the absentee.
So my second situation, I had a little girl who was 9 months old. So my credit was a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I went from a $169,000 house to a $98,000 condo in Powell.
You went down.
I went down to come back up, which a lot of investors will learn that you don't always go up. Sometimes you come down to go back up. So when I bought my little 2-bedroom, full lower level basement in Western Hills, I bought it on the outskirts of Powell, which is when you go to invest, think about, Powell mailing address, Columbus, taxes, Worthington schools. I knew when I bought that value is only going to go up. Now this at this time was probably early 2016.
Wow, so it's about 3 years after the first.
So I got that house, and with that one, and my first two I bought FHA, I want to say that. The first one I lived in for 2 years.
Yes.
And then I turned around and sold it so I wouldn't have to pay capital gains. The second one I moved into, I lived there for 2 years also, and I bought it FHA.
Okay, so FHA has been, it's a blessing to many, but today we're seeing a lot of people kind of put their nose up with FHA, but it does allow And we're just going to let you know it does allow you to get into a property with 3.5% down. So that's the T right there.
And that is the T for sure. And that's what you have to remember, is that your journey getting into a house is going to be different than everybody else's. Some people have easy journeys, some people have hard journeys.
Right.
A lot of people give up on their journey when it gets too hard.
Right.
So you can't do that because, you know, when to kind of tell you, fast forward to my next investment property,
you know we got to get to that one.
So my last one's my best one, but I didn't go to my last one just as the first one. I had to move up the levels to get to my last one.
Stair-stepping.
Absolutely.
Stair-stepping. Making strides every step of the way. So you get one, you'd make a move, you picked it up as an owner-occupant. 2
years.
Hey.
2 years.
You hold on to it. You transfer that cash that you're receiving. Maybe use it to invest because she's truly an entrepreneur. We're gonna learn a little bit more about that. And and now, so let's bring us to current date.
So I have one more house. So the next house I bought off of a private friend.
Wow.
So her name was Tara Doty. She was at Elite Land Title with me for 7 years. We literally flip-flopped houses.
That's funny.
Used the same mover and everything. That saved me about $20,000 on that house price. And that house was in Powell.
Wow. Okay.
So after 2 years, I decided to rent for a year.
Yep.
And then I got introduced to New Albany.
Wow. And so New Albany is a little bit, it can be very elitist. We have people like the Limited, major corporations that establish that zone. So go ahead and we're going to listen.
So when I decided to make my last investment, I thought it would be my forever home. Mm-hmm. So when I bought it, I didn't think I would ever be able to buy a house over $200,000.
Yeah.
So
did.
I did. Yeah, that one I did. So when I bought that house, it was actually on the market for $275,000.
Okay, and what'd you pay for it?
I ended up going in at $294 with an appraisal gap.
Yeah. So we have this market going on where appraisal gaps are customary in our market. Your market may be similar to that, where because of lower inventories, values and so forth are pushed to their limit. So she went in at top tier dollar with an appraisal gap. But
I'll explain why. I be in this industry for so long and understanding how values work and how real estate works, I knew that was going to appraise.
Yes.
Because your New Albany mailing address.
Right.
New Albany schools, Westerville mailing address, and Columbus taxes.
Right.
You're in that Warner Road corridor to where they're making the turn from Commercial on Hamilton Road and going down there. So I knew that value was not going to do anything but go up based on the location.
The value's going up because we're in just one of those areas. So when you're in your zone, you need to look for those areas where you can actually figure out that you're probably going to get the benefit because the school district is the proper school district, and you're in a zip code where there's going to be high desire. So you knew you were going to not have to come up with that gap.
Yeah.
Right?
So I knew, based on having a great agent like Teresa, having somebody that's knowledgeable, knowing what I have to go in at to have a chance.
Yep.
So, and so when I first applied for that house for the mortgage, I was approved.
Yes.
And then I got declined.
Oh.
So what happened is based on debt to income ratio and doing a lot of 1099 on some things,
there's
we had to rework the numbers.
Yes.
We had to rework the numbers.
Right.
But I went with a different lender. I actually got 2.5%.
Woo!
So,
although rate doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, rate doesn't mean anything, but at that time.
Still means smaller payment.
Yes. Yeah. At that time, that was the only way I would have been able to get into a house like that based on my DTI, my debt to income ratio, which is very important.
Yes.
So that I was in that house for almost 2 years. And then I saw the shift in the market.
Shifting markets is this thing about this crash that people are so worried about.
It's a shift.
It's a shift. It is not a crash. And even if it shifts so that rates go up, all these other things are shifting, like there's not as many appraisal gaps, the money is just shifting.
Exactly.
Yeah, so real estate has always been and always will be. But go finish your story.
So when I saw, I had a lot of people say, you need to hold on to that house. You need to hold on to that house. Mm-hmm. It's been my dream to start my own businesses. Therefore, I was sitting on way more equity than I ever thought. So
Girl.
coming in at an appraisal of $303,000 when I bought the house in 2020.
Walked into equity.
I walked into equity, so I walked into at least $10,000 equity.
Yep.
And I will thank good old, you've got inventory demand.
Yep.
So what happened is when you buy in an area like I built or I bought, you see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, New Albany will always be a hot area, especially where I was.
Yes.
And I also saw what other people were getting for their houses.
Right.
So I said, you know what? To be able to get the capital to build my dream, to be an entrepreneur,
Yep.
I needed to
Make a decision.
make a decision to either hold on to it and, or cash out my equity.
Right.
So, with against some people's better judgment, they thought I should not sell. I sold my house.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on the market and I sold it. I put it on the market for $439,000.
Girl, how much you sell it for?
I sold it for $439,000 with an appraisal gap
Woo!
up the purchase
That
price.
It is. Oh my goodness.
And so I walked away after everything, all the
costs,
agents getting paid, with
fees.
$132,749.
There it is. There it is. She spilled the tea. This is exactly what we need to know. We need to know how we can come up with $132,000 in less than 2 years. What was your down payment initially? Let's just talk.
I went FHA.
Yeah, so
3% down, 3.5% down. I think total I put down about $20,000 after I had to pay a bunch of credit cards and stuff.
Okay, so what we need to know is that this thing is very possible. Stephanie, I'm so thankful that you shared your story.
You're welcome.
Give us one thing you want people to know. What can our audience take away? Give us one good, strong takeaway. We want to give them a little bit of tea specifically from you.
I would say, based on my life and growing up and the challenges I've had as an adult, it's never too late to start. Everybody told me I couldn't. Whether it was investing or even buying a house or selling a house, you have to go with the people that support you the most and support your dream.
Yes.
And the more people tell you no, the more I aspire to do more to prove people wrong. Because I think in this industry, we have so much negativity that, the little wins are what we need. The ones, I'm a single mother, I have a young daughter. You're able to do this with the family. You're able to do this, just be sure you don't rent out FHA properties, but you're able to do this without having the money that a lot of the big investors have. And that's what I want people to know. The little dreams come true also.
Yes. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. I so appreciate you, girl. I just love you. You're always here for us. We can definitely know what we're going to get with you. It's always the truth. It's always right on time. You can expect that, when we bring guests on, we're always going to have those who tell us exactly what we need to know so that we can share this information just for you. This is about educate, inspire, and activate. I'm Theresa Barron, your host with the Realty Talk.